And we are back, and always, and I mean always, great to catch up with Cedric Golden. We talked to him last week, and even though the Horns lost, he has managed to wake up, put his tie on, and show back up. Ced, how is everybody doing out there? I mean, I know you're still hurting because you got to bounce back for Vanderbilt.
Man, it felt like a black funeral. I mean, the game was on Saturday, and they're still singing hymns. They're still singing hymns in Austin. They got to turn that page, man. You asked me my biggest concern last week, and I said Quinn Ewers, and can't blame it all on Quinn because the offensive line was not very good. But you can't win a game like that if your quarterback doesn't play well. That was a big time matchup, and the Longhorns let a great opportunity get away from them.
Let's talk about what many are trying to turn into a major controversy. I've been asked about it, and I don't know anything about it, so I'll ask you. The whole Quinn Ewers arch deal, we all know what Sarkeesian said, but take us inside of that, and what if Saturday it doesn't go well for Ewers?
And Vanderbilt, and then you got the bye week, and you know what happens during bye weeks? They have evaluations, and it's all right. What's happening during this next stretch? If he doesn't play well against Vanderbilt, then Steve Sarkeesian, who was a quarterback himself at BYU, will have a look at this position. Now, I will say this: this is Quinn Ewers' team, and he has helped build this thing. 18-3 in their last 21 games. Not too many teams have a record like that. And so two of those losses were to Washington in the CFP and one in a bowl game. So in regular season and Big 12 title games, I mean, it's pretty good, 18-1. So, but it's a results business, Paul, and he's got to play better. Quinn said he's got to play better. And they got after him, and the offensive line couldn't hold its water. And Quinn once again struggled early, but this time, they were against a team that wasn't inept offensively like Oklahoma the week before when he struggled. And so I told you it would take a lot for him to put Arch in there, and he saw enough to do so. Now, Vanderbilt is not Georgia. Vanderbilt has beaten Alabama and Vanderbilt has beaten Kentucky, but Vanderbilt is still not on the level of Georgia, and Texas is an 18-point favorite. And Texas should be able to win this game with Quinn Ewers by double digits. Now, if he has the same struggles that he had this past week, we could possibly see Arch Manning. But I'll say that knowing that Steve Sarkisian is going to give him every opportunity to bounce back and play the kind of ball he was playing in non-conference.
You know how quickly narratives change. I mean, we all were buying in, and you were offering a few caveats. And now the other side is starting to go, hey, they didn't beat anybody, forgetting the trip to the big house, which looked really impressive at the time. Kind of give us the state of things, because I know these things settle down, they ebb and they flow, and there are some pretty important games left, including Saturday. But why do you think all of us, and I mean most of us, bought in on Texas?
Because they were that good. They weren't giving up points. And the defense is still the name of the game. Let me ask you something, Paul. If I told you last week before the game that Texas was going to hold Georgia to 283 yards of offense and that the Longhorns were going to force Carson back into 3 interceptions, would you have had them losing by 15?
No.
Way. No way. They're going to, we would have them winning that game by double digits. They got what they needed from that defense, and that defense played really well on short fields. The problem was on the other side of the ball, and it wasn't just Quinn Ewers. That offensive line gave up seven sacks, and the offensive line produced 29 rushing yards on 27 carries. Unacceptable. That's the team that was a unit that was being talked about for the Joe Moore Award, Paul. They went from Joe Moore to no more in one afternoon of football, and it was unacceptable. It's a team game. but that's the most experienced unit on the team. And that's a quarterback who's one of the most experienced in the country. Did not deliver with everybody watching. They'll bounce back and they'll beat Vanderbilt, but people will still be wondering, were they just an overrated team? Until they beat somebody else of substance, it'll have to take them running the table and beating A&M. Or, if they finished with 2 losses, then they were about as good as we expect them to be. I had them at 10-2, 11-1. The schedule opens up pretty well for them. The Kentucky game will be tough, but I do think that they still have a chance to go 10-2 or 11-1.
Hey, I have a question. I tried to reach you Saturday night. There was the beginning of a controversial play, and I couldn't get you in the press box. I asked your comrade to grab you, and somebody told me you were on the field under the hood with the official.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't under the hood. I was in the end zone picking up water bottles
So
because
explain. I
because
mean,
I didn't.
I don't want anybody to get an unfair reputation, but a few people are taking shots at your Longhorns. Give us your view from up close on the whole scene because it was pretty ugly.
It was chaotic. It was unacceptable by a fan base. I talked to Kirk Bowles at the game, and we know that Kirk Bowles has covered 50 years of Longhorns football. He's never seen fans react that way. I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Was it a bad call? Sure. Not the first bad call and not the last. You don't react that way. And $250,000 fine is not going to move any needle. They can pay that from the cookie jar in the kitchen. So I just thought that it was an embarrassing moment for the Horns. Steve Sarkisian ran out onto the field near that end zone and was telling the fans to cut that out because it was conduct that was unbecoming to an otherwise pretty classy fan base.
Overall, just before you go, the state of the Longhorn Nation, which you don't cover but you deal with every day. It was a shock, I'm sure. We've all heard somebody say, the Texas pretty confident, pretty cocky fan base. You were cocky, not so much about the game, but just about everything else. How do you like us now?
I'm still cocky.
How do you like this SEC now, Sid?
I loved it then and I love it now. I'm still cocky. I will remain. I know some of your listeners hate me.
They do,
They
by the
love,
way.
I mean, there's a guy, what's his name? Jethro in Tuscaloosa hates me,
Yeah.
and that's fine. That's fine. Um, the Longhorns are good for business in the SEC, and the Longhorns will win in the SEC. Losing, like I told you last week, Paul, losing to the Georgia Bulldogs is not a season ender. Before the season, this is the game I had them losing. But then Georgia didn't look good against Alabama or Mississippi State. So I switched to Texas. But you know what? Give credit to Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann. One hell of a game plan. The best team won that game. Texas is going to have a lot more big games like this. I hopefully will have a lot more appearances on the Feinbaum show so I can build up my hate base. And we will be talking about some great rivalries down the line. College football is wonderful. The city of Austin is in a bit of mourning right now, but I think Vanderbilt may provide a little bit of medicine to soothe those aching hearts in the 512.
Well, great to see you. We'll be thinking of you this weekend. You're in Bowles on Broadway, shutting down Aldean's on early Saturday morning. Hey, thank you, Sed. Always good to see you. Sed Golden joining us from Austin, and we'll take a short break. We are back with your phone calls after this.